So you're out of the opening, now what do you do? Well, that is a big question, and I think the most complicated area of chess is the middle game. What I'm going to do in this video is use logic to try and analyse positions, middle game positions, and find the best moves. So in this position, it's white to play. This is taken from an amateur game of about 1700. White plays really well. So if you want to assess a position, evaluate position a little bit, you can pause it if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and do this actually. So looking at position, what we got, and obviously you're looking at this position called, in a real game, you're obviously playing the moves up to this position. So when you look at a position fresh like this, it's worth just doing the basics and analysing everything. So we've got an equal material count. There's 3 pieces versus 3 minor pieces, rooks and queens still on the board. You can count up the pawns. The pawns are exactly the same. So assessing the position, we've got queenside castling for white, and black hasn't castled yet. Might go kingside. We could still go queenside, or could stay in the centre. So then once we've done that, let's look at the structure. So the structure, the position, we've got a closed structure, right? It's a sort of French advanced structure where black is, probably safe in the middle of the board. So from my point of view, black has just played this move, right? Possibly looking to trade the light square bishop. Using logic, what do we want to do from this position? If you're white, pawns point this way. There's more space. Generally, you've got opposite side castling, potentially. Black's going to be playing on this side. White's going to be playing on this side. So we're looking for moves on this side of the board. First things first, should we trade this bishop for this bishop? So black has just played bishop a6. Should we take and swap those bishops off? I don't think so in this position. Right, I think the light square bishop is a good piece. Right, we've got, these are pawns on dark squares, so the light square bishop pretty good. We want to attack on the king side, right, so we're going to keep the piece on the board. Unfortunately, we could play this move, knight b5, to prevent, the bishop exchange, but we're playing on the wrong side of the board. Well, this is a possible move, but I'm just wondering, like, after this sort of move, then we'd be playing like this to try and hang on to the bishop. And we're playing on the other side of the board. That's one possible plan, but I don't particularly like it. So let's have a look for possible moves then. So what we want to do, right, unfortunately, there are no sort of pieces to kick. If we had a piece on here, let's say this knight was on this square, and there was a pawn here, we could immediately play h4 without thinking, more or less without thinking, and kick the knight. But we still probably want to move pawns in the position, from my point of view. But it's not as effective if the pawns are not kicking pieces around. So let's have a look what white did. White plays h4 anyway, which just makes sense. And then black plays in this position h6. This doesn't make sense. This is not very logical. Right? I think the best move was exchanging the bishops. I don't know what the computer thinks. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, bishop takes d3, b5. Yeah, playing it logically, black wants to play on this wing. So either exchanging this bishop or playing b5 and stop pushing these pawns just makes sense. So white's played a good move in h4. Don't really like this move, because this move just encourages further play, right? Encourages g5, like opening up the position. And we have an exchange. Now white has got an open h file, right, which only favours white. And after an exchange, which only favours white again. Black is around 1700 as well. And what we do in this position, makes sense to throw that check in, pin in the knight, and then continue with the kingside attack, g6. And this move is not so good. It would have been better to play, possibly at this time, taking the bishop off, because this bishop is looking strong. Right, so having played this move, I think black is sort of reacting to white rather than pushing black's own agenda. So this move's not so good. We have an exchange, and then queen comes in, and then that's the end of the conversation. So after that exchange, it becomes far too late. Right, we win a piece, we win the rook like that. So that was a good finish by white from this position. And basically, white's played completely fine, completely logically, doing the right things. Black has responded to white a little bit, not pushed their own agenda. Black's not played that very well, but white has. Well done. Let's have a look at another position. Okay, so I've got another rapid game at 1700 rapid game, so it's probably 1500 FIDE, something like that. The lead chests are a bit inflated. So in this position, it's white to play. Black has just played the rook to d8, and let's assess the position again. It's the same thing, 3 pieces to 3 pieces, and we have got equal pawns. We've got an open file for black on the B file, and we have got open D file. So what to do in this position? So, having established, that we've got an equal position in terms of material, we've got both kingside castling, so we've got none of the sort of opposite side castling, throwing pawns forward situation. So here, it's how do you improve the position? Right, that's a key question, I think. You can always improve the position unless you think about it, you've checkmated your opponent. And until then, you can always improve the position and try and make the position at the same time worse for your opponent. So looking for plans in this position, immediately the first thing that jumps out to me actually is trying to control this square, trying to control the e5 square, and jumping a knight on there makes sense to me. Supported by the bishop, you can always play f4 as well and try and get a sort of queenside attack going. You've got to be careful about things like that, obviously, because of the bishop coming in. But that's my plan in that position, and I'm basically picking these at random, right? And white does that in the game, so it's a good move by white. It says a mistake here, actually. So is it a good move? Oh no, that's fine. It's black's mistake next. Okay, that makes sense, because I was thinking, why putting the knight on e5, unless there's a tactical error, shouldn't be a mistake. So engine off anyway. So knight coming into this square, going into e4. What are we going to do in this position? Well, first thing, we could take the knights off, pawn takes, and we could discovered attack against the queen. But is that a big issue? Actually, I think no, because we just moved the queen, and then this pawn is going to be on e4, which blocks out the bishop. So taking the knight, moving the queen, and bringing the queen to g4 immediately, just on the king side. I like to play for a king side attack, generally if I can, and if the position calls for it. And I think taking the knight here, I think that's what this player did, yeah. And that's fine to me. It looks the best move. Any other moves? Possibly f3. Right, that encourages maybe trade of knights. And that looks okay as well. A little bit slower doing that, but putting a pawn on f3 blocks out this bishop, but it sort of weakens this a little bit. But the best move in this position, I think, is taking the knight. And then now we can see in this position, this bishop is pretty useless at the moment. Right, so white can sort of move a piece onto the queen king side, and we've got a superior knight. We've got a fantastic bishop. Obviously, we're targeting this square. So the immediate thing that we're doing, immediate threat in the position, for example, is something like this. Let's bring in the knight, or can even take here. So we've got a checkmate threat on. We've got discovered attack on g7. Very, very simple. White's not really doing anything extra special. The setup developed as normal. Taken that, and just brought the queen onto the king side. Right, where we just create threats, and black has to respond to that. Normally, people are not very good at responding to threats, at this sort of level or below sort of 2000, really. It's the weakest area in my experience, generally speaking, because people, they study the openings, they study aggressive tactics, they don't really study threat awareness, which is why I made Blunder Busters. And if you can start making threats against your opponent, then do so, So in this position, what would be a good move for black? Black has to do something about these threats, has to deal with these threats. So what should black do in the position? How do we respond to these threats? Commended moves in this position. f5 comes up, which makes sense. f5 on the board. Right, and then we've got, obviously, we're hitting the queen. Queen has to go somewhere. I maybe think h5 because we're still maintaining threats. Rather than drop the queen back defensively, queen h5, got threats in the position. So this is fine. And after this move, let's just look at this. Bishop f6, and black sort of defends that. So let's have a look. What did black do in the game? Black played f6. So can we punish this move? So this is a blunder. Right, it's an understandable move. We're kicking the knight, we're blunting the bishop, but it just leaves this pawn unprotected. And then white just throws in with check. Right, and black stumbles straight into checkmate in that position. But even if we move into this position, then we have got a really nice finish. One of the best finishes in chess, actually. Look at that. And that game's totally picked out at random. Like, I basically just clicked on the next one. So let's look at another position. A really nice one here. This is actually John Nunn, Grandmaster John Nunn versus Larry Christensen. And John Nunn is white, and it's black to play in the position. And Larry plays knight to d6. And what would you do in this position? Let's just do a quick assessment. So we've got 3 pieces, and we have 2 pawns here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 6. But white is better in my opinion. Black's got, the slightly worse pawn structure. 3 pawn islands to white's 2. Also, white has got more space. And to me, how to improve the position, this is the key square. d5. Can you control d5? White can do that at ease. Right. One of these pieces can come into d5. And also, can we make it take advantage of potentially playing for an open A file? Right. And if you just watch how John Nunn takes advantage of both these factors, wins this position. Because in this position, right, black is just threatening to chop this bishop off. Right, so what you're going to do, you're going to move the bishop. You're going to do something else. So let's have a look how the game continued. Instead, John Nunn took the pawn, right? So we can't really immediately take back. Because after takes, I suppose, takes, and we win a pawn here at least, or we win this pawn. So perhaps the bishop wasn't in any immediate danger. So taking, and then bringing the rook to the open A file. So now black can take if they want to. Black doesn't do that. Black just avoids the pin. Right, because you've got a rook coming to A7, would potentially pin the bishop. Knight can't take because of the check. So black avoids that. So this is really, really that sort of finesse play by John Nunn in this position. And from there, then what we're going to do, look at this move, bishop d5. Right, let's go quickly flick through the game and see how this unfolds. And look how John Nunn takes advantage now of d5 and this open A file. Right, simply improving the position, and white is just much better. Makes sense. Rook to the 7th rank, improving the king. White tries to play on the queen side. This move's really nice. f4. Right, at first this just looks a little bit crazy because these are really solid. But f4, opening up the position for the dark squared bishop. Throws the check in, and now it's all over. Quickly flick through the rest of the game. Yeah, so a fantastic example from John Nunn there in that position. So you're out at the opening, you know what to do, you look at the position, you apply logic to the position. How do I improve my position? How do I make my opponent's position worse? And you can apply logic to the chessboard to improve your chess.